Right. Okay, Brian, your minute to fame starts now.
Hi, I'm Brian from Survivor. Right now in America, there is a big disconnect between police training and real world situations. Victims of police brutality, such as George Floyd, aren't going home at night because police officers aren't prepared to empathize with people and handle complex situations. Survivor makes communities safer by providing realistic police training that teaches de escalation and decision making skills. Our team is 50% police, and we serve organizations from city to military. Since 2020, we've booked 1.1 million in revenue across 10 states. We're raising our second round to generate over 4 million in annual bookings by 2022. Our round is 45% subscribed, so if you're interested in the future of public safety, let's talk.
Perfect. Sounds pretty good, Brian. One of the observations that I had on this part was where you speak about training on de-escalation and decision-making skills, right? Uh, do you think there's a need to set the context that today that's kind of absent in the police training? Because otherwise, I would assume that it's already part of the training. So, what is it that you're bringing new on board?
Yeah, I think it's the issue with how the current training methods that they have, and they're very limited, and they don't really stress communication skills that much. It's more like use of force and whether or not you pull the trigger. That's really what they emphasize. I could spin it off that way. That's possible.
Right.
So I
And
guess
the second question I would have is then it also means that there has to be a systemic change, right? The system also has to change. Just by training a few officers, it doesn't change overnight, right? So, what would be the answer to that? I'm just putting these questions out, which I, as a layman, I'm getting in my mind, and then maybe you should start working on them. Once we're done with the others, maybe you can come back and just do this once more again, right? Does anyone else have any feedback or input that you would look at it from your perspective? Shividya, anything from your side?
Yeah. Um, Brian, I thought that was a good job. I think you spoke slowly and you also spoke with a lot of confidence. One thing that I would ask you to be a little careful about is generalization. I know that the issue, and it's not just in America, which is the second part of my feedback, when you say police without saying some police or quite a lot, or without giving a number or a statistic, it looks like you're doing a kind of a blanket ban on all cops. So it might help your case a little better if you were not, if you did not generalize, if you didn't say because police officers, because some police officers are not prepared to empathize. So the word some will actually keep you a little safe as well because you're not generalizing. So that's one. Second, if you do a little bit of research, just even basic research, you'll realize that this problem is not just, it doesn't just pertain to America, it's pretty much in many, many parts of the country, but manifests itself in different ways. So if you're, so depending on whom you're pitching to, if you know your audience and there are jury members, so we know George Floyd because we're reading the news, but this was something that Pradeep had shared with me. If you're looking at a different country, can you pick up a case from there that brings instant recall? That way you ensure that you create a connection between you and the person who is listening to you. Yes, that's my feedback. Thanks.
great
Cool.
feedback.
Some food for thought. Thank you, Vidya. Can I ask now Kushal to go? Ankush, would you like to go?
Yeah, yes, fine.
Yeah, cool. I request everyone else also to look at it and give your perspectives as well. Yeah, your time starts now.
As Narayan Murthy once said, there is not been a single innovation from Indian students from last 70 years of Indian independence. So, uh, so we now Kaushal decided to go through the ground and see whether how the condition is. In search of problem, we went to remote tribal area school of Orissa and Maharashtra, where we saw the students from first to fifth class sit in a single classroom. So there were not a good infrastructure even. So let's leave the innovation, but there were many students who even lack in getting good education. So we came up with the idea where we found to provide we came up with the vision to develop and grassroots entrepreneurs. And to satisfy this vision, we have come up with satisfying the objective to provide education to the remote rural areas and build up an innovation labs. So where students will sit together and playing and can make a playing toys and can enhance their skills. So thank you. This is all about.
Yeah, 1 minute and 6 second, Ankush. Okay, so a couple of my points on this. One, um, although we in India know Narayan Murthy well, I am not really sure whether in the global context that's true, right? Infosys is a huge company. Everyone knows the company, but I'm not sure whether Narayan Murthy is known. And second thing is you took off on a negative note. Although the challenge that Narayan Murthy spoke about was about innovation. I know you try to connect it to the fact that we are talking about innovation, yet even the basic things are not available. So a better way would have been to kind of highlight the problem, because for someone, including people like me and Vidya who are in bigger cities, to empathize the fact that even fundamental education is not available in rural India is something that's difficult, right? For you, Ankush, because I know you personally after having done those interviews, I know you know that with real life experience, but not everyone understands that. So maybe you could bring in those big numbers saying that, do you know that X number of students in rural India don't even have access to a proper classroom. They share classrooms, right? They share the same teacher, so the teacher cannot come at this at particular hours for students, so they have to have classes sometime in the morning and the afternoon. Sometimes the teacher doesn't come because the teacher has to tread like 6 or 7 kilometers by walking to those upper hills. So maybe if you could set that context, and then how is it that you're going to solve or change that problem? I think that would make sense, because in this 1 minute, I think talking about innovation and then talking about grassroots teaching, maybe there's a small losing of interest that could happen. Second question that I have is, uh, are you focusing on giving them basic education, or are you focusing on giving them basic science skills through these games or labs?
No, no, we are with the learning and development grassroots entrepreneur. So and our objective basically is to provide an affordable practical education in school of remote rural areas through innovative labs. Like we will develop an innovative labs where we have the concept of ATL labs, like Atal Twinkling Labs in India, which has been developed by Niti Aayog in India. So that is how we
Okay,
are.
okay, okay. So assuming that 50% of the jury on the finals is not going to be Indian, then this may be a little dicey ground, because they do not know what Atal Tinkering Labs is. So maybe you need to really revise that aspect. One of the advantages that we have in India is that the numbers that we have are so huge that they're probably much more. India by itself is a continent, right? We're the only subcontinent, so to say. So that itself gives us big numbers from an investor
So
perspective, right? So like Jeremy was talking about, let's say
because
100
in
million.
India, yeah,
I'm sorry.
six
Yeah, no,
we do have 6 and 6.5 lakh rural areas, right? So actually, if we
yeah,
consider a school
absolutely.
from have single school
We are
means
we are so we are like a Europe by ourselves, right? So you have to set that context also in the when the numbers come in, right? Vidya, any things from your perspective?
Yes, Ankush, I agree with Pradeep. Tell a story. I would have perhaps thought about how childhood is nothing without toys. And have research that backs up the idea that children learn better in the playway method. So I agree with Pradeep. When you have just a minute, you don't take the time. While the Narayan Murthy quote is powerful, you don't take the time there. You spend more time talking about what you want to do. Because I think towards the end of your presentation, from what I could read on the screen as well, you lost steam. So we didn't hear too much about what you want to offer in terms of Navkushan. Secondly, if you start strong, I think the attention of an audience is the most in the beginning, at the end. That's what I've learned in my decades as a public speaker. End strong as well. Somewhere towards the end, you were like, you were literally mumbling the words. So make sure that you practice. I think with a bit of practice, the issue is that the areas that Pradeep and I think you might need a bit of work on just disappear, because now you know how to do it. Okay, it's taken a minute and six. How do I reduce that? Can I remove this? Can I replace it with this? Can I make a positive, because you're talking about children at the end of the day, can I make a positive impact by creating a certain image in the audience's mind which captures their attention, but ensure that if you've started well, ensure that you end well as well. So that becomes the lasting impression you leave in the audience's mind.
Super.
Yeah, we focus on practice.
Perfect. So I think practice has to be there. That's probably the next part that we would look at. So can I ask TJ or probably Jeremy, what did you understand from whatever Ankush spoke? You stay in a different country, in a different culture. What is it that you grasped out of it?
For me?
You're on mute, TJ.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
so
Jeremy.
yeah. So what
My
I
wingman.
understood, yeah. What I understood is that there is a lack of opportunity in some part of India. Some population doesn't have the same opportunity, and that may create like there is maybe really creative mind with a lot of ideas and innovation that doesn't get the chance to bring their ideas. So they want to tackle that and to see what those people has to offer. And I think I got it right?
Yeah. Okay. TJ, what's your take on it?
Yeah, of course. And I would just echo many of the things that you've already touched upon, but maybe even highlighting the grassroots sort of efforts that you're using as well, especially because some of the conditions is just not necessarily translatable from India to some of the other countries around the world. So that might be interesting to highlight.
Right. And maybe also because this is a competition or whatever, you also need to bring in the social aspect of it. It's not a pure commercial proposition that you're bringing. It's a lot of social aspect as well. Then it kind of touches the emotion. So the investor is kind of a little more in shaky ground because now he's connected by the heart kind of thing. Cool. Samantha, you would like to go next?
Sure.
Right. My colleagues have transcribed whatever you spoke, so I hope they've done a proper translation. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm good to go.
Good to go. Your time starts now.
Hi, I'm Samantha. Have you ever struggled with decorating your space? I know I have. Our homes are our castles. We want them to be a place of comfort. We want them to be the best reflection of us. A wall of art can define a space, express who we are, and make a house a home. But finding artwork we love can be time-consuming, and arranging and hanging it can be daunting. We are WXH, and we're here to help. Our mobile app will help you discover artwork and decor you love, design magazine-worthy wall arrangements, and hang your art exactly where you want it. We'll determine the dimensions of your space and provide you with recommended layouts and exact placements. You get to create your ideal space, and we'll be there to help you along the way. We're an early stage startup with big dreams. We're working on our beta release. If you're interested in joining our beta testers, offering business advice, or looking for artwork inspiration, let us know.
Super. Bang on the minute, 59 seconds. Perfect timing. Good. So some of my observations, Samantha, is somewhere down the line, I'm not able to differentiate your proposition to an interior designer, if that's the right word that you use in the US. Because when I saw your pitch deck, I understood that like people struggle to place art on the walls, right? They don't know which location, what dimensions, what size, how much length do you leave it from the center? Do you hang it in the center of the wall or on the side? But when you started speaking here, it felt a little more that you are kind of helping them on the interiors rather than specifically sticking to art. So because like you use decorating your space, but I thought correct me if I'm wrong, okay? From your pitch deck, I understood that it's not about just decorating your space, but it's very narrowed down to a very niche area of art and walls. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So somehow that's not coming up on the 1 minute elevator. It's the immediate question would be, how are you different from an interior designer or anyone else who does interiors of a house. So I think that's one thing that you need to look at. Maybe one of the other things that you need to also look at is that I know from an Indian perspective that art has become now like a status symbol. People buy earlier, we didn't spend money on buying art, and I think in the US as well, at least the upper middle class or people below the middle class or middle class, I don't think they're still putting money into art. But now, probably because of the higher incomes, people have started looking at it. So bring in that number as well as to how many people are now buying art, and maybe they're not putting it up the right way. So the emphasis is more on the wall and lesser on the art. So
I have a
that's
question.
Yes.
I've used the word art, but really it could be like family photographs. I just didn't want to list everything you could put on your wall. So do you think I should move away from art specifically? Because we're not trying to be status per se. It's just like, you want to hang something up, we'll help you.
Okay. So this is the perspective I've got from seeing your pitch, right? I saw
Yeah.
the deck, and that's where. Now, please tell me this: you are narrowed down only to the walls and anything that hangs on the wall, or let's say,
Right.
do you also do a flower vase?
Anything on the wall. So it might be mirrors, picture frames, artwork,
Okay.
like anything. I guess if there was tapestry, anything that you put on the wall is
Right.
what we're talking about.
Okay. So we will hang everything else except your clothes, right?
Right.
Good. So I think, yeah, then we need to kind of maybe tweak these words. So Vidya, I
Okay.
may need your help if you could tell us what do you think might be a more better word to kind of put in what Samantha is saying.
I think the word wall art is a great word, but I think you don't need to elaborate on that. You could say we're not just talking about art, we're talking about anything with meaning. It could include your grandmother's patchwork quilt, for example, or it could include a tapestry, or a collage of photographs. So just by giving them a few examples, you're also expanding their mind into thinking that you're not just discussing art per se with them, but you're also talking about other things. And then when they ask you the questions, you can tell them, if you have a list of things that you can hang up for them, then you can tell them at that point of time what else you have in mind. But the word wall art works, but maybe a few examples of what you mean by it might be helpful, Samantha. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the numbers of how many people are now thinking of that seriously, right? I have hung up multiple stuff on my wall, and I never even thought about it before I saw your deck, right? So maybe some
Yeah.
perspective as to how many people are looking at it, kind of a thing. One case that you could also use is the Zoom context now, right? People are getting a peek into people's lives. I never would have seen Samantha's house and Austin sitting there on his chair always, right? Now I am getting a peek into that. So that also is a context that you could say it is that in the Zoom world, people are getting peeks and people are more conscious about what they want behind them on the wall, right? Cool. Dr. Lopez, anything from your side? You're the fly on the wall. You're on mute.
Okay, too many windows. Samantha, is wall hangings an alternative of which you then, in the same sentence, keep art? By the way, don't get overly worried about our competition. They will have heard you go through 10 minutes, 5 minutes. You've done all of that. The 1 minute is after. We're really trying to prepare you, as physical gatherings get back together and you're meeting with, in a group of 10 people. How do you, in a minute, get people's attention to want to know more? So for that one, I'm just wondering if wall hangings might be a more, such as artwork, might be the shortest set of phrases or phraseology.
Right. There are two pedantic people that I like whenever I write some stuff, and both of them are on the call. Cool. Okay.
I take that you
Thank
mean
you.
it in a good way.
That's a compliment. Absolutely a compliment. Okay. TJ, you would like to go?
Sure.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. And maybe if you want, I can share what Aaron sent us. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Your time starts now.
Great. Hello, I'm TJ LeGros, and I just found out I'm going blind at 30. There are 154 million people who can lose their vision in the US alone, and 90% of all blindness is preventable. We have built a smart, mobile-enabled platform to ensure that our customers can capture patients' data without needing to change their patients' behavior. We do the heavy lifting with machine learning and computer vision. So our customers don't need to specialize skills to give the exam. We already have FDA classification confirmed. We already know the exam is reimbursable, and we already have paying customers. So if you want to help us eliminate blindness, come talk to us.
Cool. 37 seconds. Right. So my observations on this, TJ, is one, maybe Vidya and Dr. Lopez can add on the English part when we are talking about, 1 second. Yeah. So here when you're saying lose their vision in the US alone, and then you're talking about 90% of all blindness, it kind of looks like they're two different contexts. This is my personal take on it. Maybe do you think 90% of all this is preventable, or something to connect the previous line to this? Because right now it looks like 90% blindness is a different thing, and 154 million losing their vision is a different thing. Kind of one is that perspective. The second perspective is this the statement where you're saying our customers. So again, as a layman, I am not really able to find out who is that customer, right? Is it me personally that I do my own examination, or is there a professional who's supposed to do my examination? Is it my personal physician or a nurse or whatever, right? So that probably that part is missing. And now that you've done only in 35 seconds, you still have some more time. But the wow factor is already there. Wow. It's blindness and it can be cured, right? Something that can be done and people are not doing anything about it, kind of a thing. So that wow factor is there. We need to kind of reinforce that a little bit together. Yeah. Vidya, you're on mute. You're on mute.
TJ, I think it's a great idea. And I think
Vidya, we are hearing you very feebly. Can you speak a little louder, or is something within? Yeah. Not very audible.
Is this better now?
Kind of, okay. Yeah.
Okay. TJ, I think you've, from what Pradeep has said, you have another 30 odd seconds that you can definitely use to talk a little bit more about your idea. Perhaps if you speak a little slower, it would take care of a little bit of that time. But having worked with Pradeep, I think what he's trying to say with those two sentences and how he sees them as something different, what's happening there is, I'm not sure whether the sentences are connected. The number of blind people and 90% of it being preventable, do they refer to the same thing? I think that I'm assuming that's what Pradeep is trying to say, or are you talking about two totally different things?
No, this is for the US, and this is coming from the same study from the CDC.
So you're saying 90% of the 154 million people who can lose their vision in the US alone is preventable? Or are you saying 90% of all blindness is preventable?
There are a couple different studies, but in this case, 90% of all of the blindness of the 154 million people is preventable.
Okay, so what you need after alone is either a comma, like the Oxford comma, or you need a full stop and a capital A to say that you're talking about two totally different things. Otherwise, my assumption was that the sentences were connected. Or you could use a demonstrative pronoun like a that or a this or a these. These are small things, but it distracted me. When I was reading through, I thought a lot about the sentence because I wasn't sure what you were referring to. I get it when you say it, but if you're presenting the content, it might help. So people just move on to what you actually want to talk about. And if you speak a little slower, you will have the opportunity to make full use of that 1 minute. It's a long period of time. And also talk a little bit more about what you have to offer.
Sure. Thank you for the notes.
And
Pradeep,
one more. Yes, Dr. Lopez.
Pradeep, don't put up the information because people are going to start reading it. I'll bet TJ moved his focus from speaking as a human being to suddenly reading.
Right. Sure.
TJ, were you reading or not? Right?
A little of both.
Okay. Right. A couple of things. Yeah, go ahead, finish up, Pradeep. Then I got 2-3 quick.
Yeah. So the other observation. Oops. Now I lost my thought. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. I do think that if you use terminology like FDA, while you and I think everybody knows that, I'm not sure that's true. I would actually say, according to the US Federal Drug Administration, and then when you said reimbursable, I'd say something like reimbursable by insurance companies. I mean, this is, you may think that everybody's going to get this. By the way, I know we don't need to work, and I'm going to say this to all of you. By the time in your pitch decks, consider how you put together a 3 to 5 year timeline that shows launches beyond your country. So they will have heard all of that, but this pitch is really meant to get you ready as physical meetings become available, right? All of that piece of it.
Right.
I like the story that makes it very personal, and that's a good item for everybody. How do you, I think Srividya said it earlier, start with a story, right? 2 years ago, we had a team that won the global competition, and they actually used, I mean, they showed us a picture. I don't think it was a real Melissa, but they just said, you know, this is Melissa and her 9-year-old daughter. And then they very quickly, in about 12 seconds, said, you know, they've been having speech pathology problems with the daughter, and we're here to help save that situation. Talk about the heartstrings immediately, right? Because believe it or not, they'd shown people in speech pathology still use tongue depressors instead of hardware software. And they were coming up with a hardware software solution that would reduce the learning time for the Melissas of the world. I mean, just give that thought for all of you as to how do you grab beginning and end, not either or, right?
Right, cool. Yeah, you were not there yesterday, TJ. So one of the quotes that I quoted was Mother Teresa, who says, show me the mass and I can't do anything, but show me the single one, or show me the one and I probably can move, right? So here, I think Melissa was the case where, so people saw one single Melissa, they had a structure, they had a face, they could put something to that, that abstract term. 154 million is a huge number, but I'm not able to comprehend it in my mind. I've never seen 154 million people ever, right? None of us can do. The second thing I wanted to ask you is, most of your context is, if I were to use the English grammar word, present continuous, right? So is 154 million a yearly number, or 154 million is like a constantly growing number year upon year? Again, that's something that you, so that's something that maybe you need to see how you phrase it, kind of.
Great.
Right?
Yeah, these are great things to think about.
Cool. Thank you so
for
much.
the comments.
Perfect. Vaibhav, you would like to go?
Don't end up going to 1 minute and 35 seconds. With all our...
Yeah. Or rather, Vaibhav is saying that, okay, TJ took 35, I will borrow the 25 from him. Cool. Vaibhav, your time starts now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Vaibhav Oza, one of the co-founders at QuickFind. Currently, the electronic repair market is highly disorganized and opaque. And as such, the quality suffers. So much so that most of the devices are discarded after damage. We at QuickFind provide an doorstep gadget repair service with warranty to alleviate this problem. Focusing on hardware reusable technology to make a dent in an estimated 50 million tons of e-waste produced globally each year. So if you have ever faced a problem trying to find a quality, affordable repair service, or are interested in our journey on reducing e-waste, let's discuss.
Cool. So thank you, Vaibhav. You took 45 seconds, right? But Vaibhav, I was kind of struggling to understand which problem are you trying to solve. Are you trying to solve the problem that there's too much of electronic gadgets going to e-waste? Or are you trying to solve the problem that Pradeep has, that sitting at home, he's not able to get his gadgets serviced or repaired? So that's one thing that we may need to rephrase and get some more clarity on that, right? And again, you said 50 million tons of e-waste produced globally, right? So so are you proposing that you are going to be doing doorstep delivery globally? Because then
We are.
that we are, right? So, but but it has to fit into your long-term goal. You can't just give a number like this, and then when the other person asks you to show data, then you say that no, right now I'm going to focus only on Kolkata, but later on I'll go globally. So maybe you can talk about it as a global problem, but right now your company is not solving that global problem. You're solving more of a local problem. So what's the actual impact? Then you can kind of work on that and bring it to the global level. That's one thing I would probably suggest from this thing. Second suggestion from my again to all of you who are here. In India, we like to use the word younger brother and sister, right? All of you are like younger brothers and sisters. So sometimes I may point out some things that are very narrow and maybe are like a teacher chiding you, but I want you to take it in the positive sense because I really want all of you to win. So, Vaibhav, I saw the transliteration that my team had done from what you had spoken. There are a lot of places where they have used other words than what you actually use now. So maybe you need to start working on getting those right words so people, all of them clearly understand what you're trying to communicate, right? So we will work on that over the next 30 days. I'm here, Shivaji is here, Dr. Lopez is here. The objective for all of us is that all of you win, right? Competition is secondary. All of you should get companies that you should move on, right? Good. So I think we are down to the last. Fahim Ahmed, are you? Fahim is from Coimbatore. Yeah. Jeremy, you would like to go now?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. 1 second. Let me pull. Right. Power Park, right?
Yeah, Power Park.
Super.
Usually it's true that the speech. So okay.
That's okay. So the thing is, tomorrow if you meet an investor, you can't say that my friends too will come. Right? Let's not get into the elevator. Go ahead. Your time starts now.
Okay. So an important fact is to know that it takes 3 to 30 seconds to break an industrial lock, and that the battery life of your e-scooter, in average, does not last long enough to take you back home. So with Power Park, we managed to develop a new station that will work with all e-scooter with all voltage. And I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at this.
Okay, you want me to pull it up on the screen and you would like to read it out? No, I think reading out is also an option, right? Go ahead. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
I read this speech.
Yeah, please go ahead for now. But in a week's time, I want you to be super confident that you do it without reading, right?
Yeah.
The time starts now.
Hi, I'm Jeremy, City of Power Park. We want to see the pollution reduced in the city, and we aim to do it by supporting the electric scooter industry, an industry we believe in. I was shocked to find out that it takes 3 to 30 minutes to steal the scooter, to break its lock, and also that the average commute to the city is 19 kilometers. But the battery only lasts 15 kilometers. So we built a physical station where you can charge, park, and lock an electric scooter. The industry is going to be worth 43 billion by the year 2030. And we built a working prototype ready for pilots with secure or freedom to operate, looking at an IP protected we can get. So if you're going to get a school, a police station, any corporate space, a parking lot, or a university, let's chat.
Cool. Thank you. So my observations, maybe not only from the 1 minute elevator pitch, Jeremy, is one of the things that you're talking about stealing, and then you're talking about charging. They're two different things. And if I were a stealer, I'm so glad because, or rather, I am the scooter owner. I know that the person who's stealing the bike can't go more than 15 kilometers. So yeah, now I have to only search in a radius of 15 kilometers, right? So that's the context I got when I read this, right? So it's more good that your bike will get stolen, but don't worry, you will find it in a 15-kilometer radius. So maybe you need to really work harder on the value proposition. Because one, you're talking about stealing, second, you're talking about fast charging, and then you jump to public spaces and all those things. Somehow they're not connecting together, is what I felt. So maybe as a team, you need to find that. The second input I would like to give you also is from the fact that I've been lucky enough to see most of the chapter pitch presentations, and almost every chapter, without fail, there have been at least one. Today in my chapter in Coimbatore, there were 3 companies who were working with electric bikes and electric batteries and charging stuff, right? So there are a lot of people doing that. So the immediate question would be, what is it that you're bringing new to the table? So look at it, think over it, and then see what you can do on that. Yeah, Vidya.
Jeremy, I think you started very well. I was surprised that you stopped midway. I think your nerves got the better of you, but for somebody like me who was listening to you, I didn't feel that your communication was not on point. So I think you have decided that your communication is not good. So that's something you need to work on, because you were able to put your point across in a very charming, effective way. So please continue with that. And with a bit of practice, I know that you will be able to speak as convincingly as Stuart did in his video. I do agree with Pradeep. I didn't understand the context of the lock, and it really amused me to see what Pradeep had to say about that. That timing works if you were to say, it takes so long to break a lock, but it takes just so much time to charge the battery. So then you're not comparing apples and oranges, right? It's a level playing field there. So that might be something to work on. But more importantly, just because I've come in here as a language expert, I think you should just continue to practice what you want to say. And if you've got your content in front of you, I don't think you should have any problem putting your point across next time. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. Lopez?
Somehow I'll
You're frozen. Looks like there are heavy thunderstorms along with snow in Atlanta. Dr. Lopez, I think we've lost you on the call. Okay, so Dr. Lopez, we lost you midway. We didn't hear anything that you spoke. Yeah.
I think it's my internet is unstable. Are you hearing me any better now?
Now better, yeah.
So all I'm going to say is, Jeremy, will you get to University at TIE.org, the video you guys created? I think it tells a much better story in a lot shorter time than all the words you and Stuart have put together.
Right.
You know which one I'm talking about?
We have a couple, like the one when we show the station in action, or the one when we do the presentation in a slow, when we present the station, or when we present the action, like there is a lady that's actually clipped the station.
You know what? Send both out later, and I don't remember which one I saw. I've seen probably several dozen from all of you, but I thought the video quickly told me what the value proposition was. And I think you're ending with too broad a statement. If you're going to a university, you're going to an office building, you're going anywhere kind of deal. I'm not a scooter rider, but I know what you all want. You all want to talk to office building owners, right? Where people are good, and they would give you a space in their parking area, or university campus owners where they'd give you a spot. I think you need to be focused to say that's your market and that's what y'all are going to do for the next year or two. I think if you start to open it up, it's a little too broad. So, but send over the videos, and I think you'll get some. Well, the more specific you are, and by the way, I'm a Thomas in terms of the 19-mile commute. I think you either need to tell us where that information is coming from, if it's just one country, if it is, all of Europe or whatever, but 19-mile commutes on e-scooters, to me, it's not a believable number.
Yeah. He used the word 19 kilometers. And Jeremy, in fact, my electric bike gives me like 45 kilometers on one charge. So that's something that you may need to really
What
look
I'm
at.
saying is that, is it the commute for everybody, or the commute that an e-scooter user would do? Right?
That's the average scooter. That's the average time, like distance that someone uses in Tel Aviv. It's 19 kilometers usually.
Or
but you also
e-scooter user or a commuter, whether they're riding a bike, a car, a train, a bus, or a scooter?
E-scooter. Or e-scooter.
Wow. So then I think you ought to speak to that. I'll bet if you did some research, it's probably not transferable to many countries.
Yeah, Tel Aviv is
I think
really
mostly because you
higher.
folks are very disciplined, and whenever I have been in Israel, you folks have much better traffic than in other countries. It would not be true in Rome. It would not be true in New Delhi. It would not be true in Mumbai.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I think, and the other.
Oh,
Yes,
this is Samantha. I don't know if this is a good or bad recommendation, but because I didn't grow up with kilometers, I got stuck because I was like, well, what's that in miles? And if you said the judges are 50%, I don't want to mess up your flow. And maybe the judges know, and that's why I'm only caveating this, but I was like, is that far or is it close? And then I started doing math, and then I kind of lost you. I also thought your presentation was really done. You have a really nice presence, so that was really great. I liked your body language, but I don't know what your advice would be on the kilometers miles thing, but it was something that.
Well, it's 12
Maybe
miles,
to-
by the way.
But the two of them.
A long ways, right? I don't know in Portland if you'd be riding an e-scooter. That's why I said it's a good number, but it happens to be for a market in Israel, which is their initial market. I believe they're going to Europe after.
But Jimmy, are you sure about the 15 kilometers per charge? Because that looks like very, very low.
That's the number we find on the standards. The most used e-scooter is the Xiaomi MS365. So we based our market research on this one. But it's true that we've seen in the couple last months and years that there is bigger scooter with the biggest charge, and that's why I said that the station is universal, meaning that you can have a little scooter working on a 42-volt charge, or a bigger one working on a 60-volt charge,
Right.
and the station will work the same. So that's why we're trying to evolve with the increase of the battery life.
So from again that perspective, there's too much of action on the e-scooter and the e-bike domain. So kind of everyone's now become an expert in it. So there may be more questions coming up. Like 10 years earlier, this was like a very innovative thing. People were excited, but now it's like, okay, what do you bring on the table, right? But maybe you have something. Please work on it. Let's look at the video and see if we can work on that as well. I can see Ankit, you would like to go? Okay, Ankit is not here. Cool. Would Samir or sorry, Puran, are you here? Puran is not here. You're here?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
here.
Would you like to do your 1-minute pitch?
Yeah, surely.
Good.
Just a minute. Yes, sir. Yeah, we can start.
Yep. Your time starts now.
Hi everyone, I'm Puran from EF Polymer. As per the statistics released by the Food and Agriculture Organization in 2016, in the last 2 decades, farmers worldwide losing around 30 to 40% of agriculture yield due to the water shortage. We at EF Polymer come up with a kind of organic hydrogel product that can help farmers to get 10 to 30% more agriculture yield with the less water. This technology have a huge market of 9.7 billion USD in India only, and we will be targeting 10% of it in the next few years. We had patented our technology in India and had already sold more than 2,000 kilograms in the last few months. We also raised nearly 250,000 US dollar in our seed round investment just a month ago, and now focusing on scaling up our technology to few drought affected states in India.
Perfect. I think timing wise as well, perfect. And kind of in terms of the story and the context, you took the global thing and then you said that we are going to focus only on the India thing and kind of the first 10% of the Indian thing. I think kind of fits in the whole thing. maybe one of the aspects that you can do is also to see how to bring in the context of the drought into the minds of people, right? What is the impact that a drought has? Again, maybe states, countries, and cities which are water surplus would not really understand the impact of that. So that's something that maybe you need to look at, Puran. One is that. Second also is the fact that world over groundwater levels are now depleting. So is what you're doing helping that in some way as well? Maybe not on the elevator pitch, but probably on your pitch deck. Probably you could also focus on the UN's initiatives on trying to save water and conserve water, rather, right? So, but overall, I think I like the story. Maybe we need to just work on the delivery a little bit, and then we should be there. Cool. Would Ajay or Samir want to do their pitch once more?
So before that, can I ask one thing?
Yes, please.
At the end, when you said the template, there was a call to action button, but I could not figure out for us what should be the call to action for us, because if one mentioned that just a month ago we have raised around like $250,000 in seed round, then what should be the next call to action button for us, like?
Right. So that's a good question. In fact, I wanted to bounce this thought of the with Dr. Lopez also, and like TJ in his last line, he said, "Come talk to us." That kind of looked very transactional. You know, it's like I'm talking to you because I want to derive some benefit out of you, kind. So maybe from one perspective, like there's no right answer. From one perspective, the call to action can be saying that we are looking for people who could support us. Would you be kind enough to share details with us of people who could relate to, right? Rather than saying that, come talk to me, assuming that that person is going. I'm again not looking at from the competition perspective. I'm looking at from a very generalized perspective. You're meeting a guy who looks like an investor on an elevator, and you're talking to him. So I don't think any of us would go and tell him, come talk to us or come talk to me, right? So this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm struggling. Do you think you can help me out? Or something on those lines would kind of make it real life, because like I told you yesterday, it's a very personal statement. Somehow these templates don't always work. They kind of put you on a track which is not the real you. The real you is like trying to just share a story with the other person. And if he really loves the story, he will say, okay, I want to talk to you. I think that's the better opinion, where they want to come and talk to you, then you are on the upper ground. Dr. Lopez, what do you have think on that?
I think it tells a good story that you've got traction in terms of your financials. Somebody believed enough in you to collectively put together $250,000. I'd leave them with the story of, we're looking forward now to scaling. And in that regard, we're looking for strategic partners. See, partners is a very broad term. That could mean go to market. It could mean expanding pilots, beta, whatever it is. I think that is more of a call to action, that you've now got the initial financial. By the way, as you heard from JP, you should always be either getting people interested in helping you. I think the partnership is likely the forum to perhaps make the call to action.
Right. And the other thing also is that somehow we are okay, because it's a competition, so we are sticking to that. But I think we are narrowing down the focus of the elevator pitch to only an investment thing. All said and done, it could be a elevator sales pitch as well. Like you're getting into the elevator with the chairman of a fertilizer company or whatever, right? So,
but in this competition, I always tell people, in fact, somebody who told us that they'd completed 100% of the round, I got them to think about that. That's great, because it says a lot of other people have done due diligence. And so they went back based on us saying, will you let us also add to the investment? And their board authorized 120, going to 120% of the investment round at the same terms, right? So there's always room for that. It sounds like you may or may not need money, but I always say it never hurts to find help from people. You'll be surprised. It may not just be checks, but people can help in a lot of ways. So.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So, thank you so much, Puran. Samir or Ajay, you would like to go with your pitch? I think you're the last ones left now. So
Yes, I would like to go.
please go ahead. Okay. Your time starts
Okay.
now.
Okay. So, I'm Ajay from Nav Kaushal, and the context is that about 50%, more than 50% of the population lives in rural area, and specifically, there hasn't been any single innovation coming up from there. So we are here, Team Nav Kaushal, with a vision to develop grassroots entrepreneurs by educating rural school children from experiential learning by project-based application. And this would be done by introducing innovation lab into such tribal rural areas, wherein the student can design, prototype their own ideas and be a change to their own problems. Hence, we come up here by introducing innovation labs across these areas, and also we would like to go global in similar countries facing such challenges. So here, we would like you to come up and join with us for this change. Thank you.
Cool. So 1 minute and 7 seconds, maybe you'll need to work on that timing part. But again, one of the other things that I observe now, Ajay, is also, I think it's a very strong statement that you're saying that nothing came up from the rural India, no innovation came up, right? Some of the best water table conservation projects have come from Kutch, right? The desert-like region in Gujarat. And they are all amazing innovations where a gentleman has just taken a couple of pipes and then he's built a water conservation project, which even scientists in big institutions were not able to do. So that's a very strong statement that you're making, and may look unrealistic. What the way I would probably look at is that if rural children are nurtured with the right platforms, we could see a lot more innovations coming. Like, for example, Puran, our friend, is talking, right? EF Polymer is also from a village of 250 people, right? So that's that. Right now, you have someone who's telling you that no, innovation does happen So innovation is irrespective of where you belong to. Innovation comes from a dire necessity, and dire necessity is something that's anywhere in the world. So innovation always happens. What does not happen is the nurturing of that innovation so that it can become like a global phenomenon. So what you're trying to do is to nurture that by giving them the tools to empower them or enable them. So look at it from that context. I think it'll kind of do much more better for you guys in the whole context, right? Cool. So got the points, Ajay. Brian, did you think over what we spoke in the start?
Yeah, I'm gonna need more time on that. I think
Sure.
there's some different directions it could take, but the
Sure.
feedback was useful.
Right, super. So you could always mail to Thai University, university@thai.org, and I will also forward those mails to Srividya. She can also help us with the English part of it, right? So the Britishers must be ruining. It's an Indian now teaching English to the world. So cool. Yes, and probably Samantha as well, if you could work on whatever insights we gave today. But deep down, please understand, we are outsiders, right? You are the one who has lived and breathed is the right word, Vidya, right? So breathe this idea or thought. So don't take everything that we tell you and kind of go anxious. Try to fit it into your thought process and come up with your own style. That's why I said templates are a very dicey thing, because they kind of sometimes put you away from your style. But of course, it's a very strong statement. I'm making a very personal one, so please do look at it that way. Vidya, any closing notes?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer some feedback to Puran. There is one thing that you can talk about, which is there are two ideas. One, of course, is global warming and the fact that we're living in a really changing world. That might help your idea. The second is, when is using less water to do something ever a bad idea? So it needn't just be from the drought perspective, though it really brings home the seriousness and the importance of what you're trying to do, but also the fact that there is a way to actually do exactly what you're doing with great benefits for people, but by using fewer resources, leaving those resources for other people. So that might be another way by which you could frame your call to action. So I wanted to give that feedback.
Super. Done. I've got your text as well, Puran. I'll put it on the document there, and then we will keep working on it. So all the best to everyone. We'll see you next week. But in the meantime, if there's anything that you would like, you know the email ID and you know the WhatsApp group as well. So look forward to hearing from all of you. Fahim from Coimbatore, you're the new entrant today. So maybe today I will not call you upon to do the stuff. So like yesterday, the team from Mysuru, Fahim is the fresh off the oven. They just won the Coimbatore leg, and they have a Fahim. Why don't you tell people what is it that you're doing? You're on mute.
I am myself Fahim from Gabriel by Coimbatore Packet.
Yeah. So what is the product or the way you're going to change the world and make it better?
We have made a bio toilet named as Bio Comfort.
Couldn't hear you, Fahim. Yeah. Okay. So what Fahim and his team are doing they're trying to build bio toilets which can be fitted to existent ready-made buses. Right. Again, a very India-specific problem that most of the buses don't have like an inbuilt toilet, long-distance buses, and when they stop for breaks, the women generally do not get down because the toilets are not properly accessible or not safe. Right, and I think it's a India-specific and a China-specific problem. I don't know how many of you have gone to China. It's the same problem in China as well. The toilets are not clean and those kind of things. So what they're trying to do is to change that context by bringing in easy modular toilets that can be fitted on buses, so that more women feel comfortable traveling overnight. Otherwise, women generally avoid bus travel in India, which was a very surprising observation that came out of the jury deliberations today. And that's the feedback the jury gave, because these guys were actually working on the same product, but in a very different context. So I think that's some of the things that the TIE ecosystem is also doing. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. Thank you for staying on for so long. Hope we have added some value to you. Stay safe and see you guys soon. Bye-bye.